what are your thoughts on what you do today and its long-term effects?
Yeah, I mean, this is, I'd love to tell a story about this. I have about 6 or 7 years ago, I was training 10 elderly people. And there was probably out of the 10, and the reason why, you're probably wondering why 10. If training is all word of mouth. If you do a good job, they tell their friend, and then before you know it, you're training all their friends. This is what happens. So, social media never even existed 20 years ago. I was busy because people spoke highly of me, and before you know it, my schedule was full.
Yeah.
And that's how I become to train so many of the elderly, is because they're like, oh my goodness, who are you training with? And before you know it, I was training 10 ladies, all in their 70s and 80s. And I would say that about 6 or 7 of them had been active their whole life. And then there was about 2 or 3 that basically, maybe even 4, that had never spent any time investing in physical fitness in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And now we're feeling, obviously, the effects from that. And we're desperately trying to have someone help them. And so the difference between seeing my clients in their 70s and 80s who had been taking care of themselves and been spending time in the gym, keeping their bodies strong, and that is so important. I really have there's a difference between exercise and training. And when we train and we're building our bodies through a potential threshold, we're building our bodies longer term. So some of these women were still running every other stair with me in their 80s, keeping up with me. Yes.
Great.
And then there was the 4 that had basically hired me because they were in walkers and house-ridden. We're all going to get old. We are all our bodies are going to slow down, and it's just going to happen. But how we choose to live those years is going to be up to us now. And we don't think about those things. And it wasn't until I trained those ladies that I was like, oh my gosh, it was the biggest eye-opening experience of my career. And this only happened 6 or 7 years ago. And what it made me realize is I was so thankful that I had spent the time in the gym as often as I did. Now, I don't want to say it's too late if you are in your 40s and you're not starting, but you got to start doing it now. Because when I saw the difference between someone who had made the conscious decision to want to live a good life in their 60s, 70s, and 80s versus the person who didn't, and it was a huge experience. I actually would come home from some of those sessions being almost depressed, because it's such a sad existence to need help to get out of bed, to get off the toilet. We're all going there. And in fact, I had a conversation with 2 women 2 days ago. I was showing them a workout video. So I was encouraging them to join my free challenge. And they were like, oh my God, your body is amazing. And I said, girls, you don't need to worry about that. You need to start moving. And they said to me, oh, we don't have time. And I said, you need to give yourself the time. 15, 20 minutes a day, not even every day. You need to do it, because in 25 years, if you don't start now, the quality of your life is going to suffer. And they said to me, that's 25 years away. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
We don't think about it. And I'll be completely honest, I didn't actually even think about it until I actually saw it with my own eyes and saw the difference between someone's quality of life versus, and it is hard when you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s to think about, but eventually we're getting there. So I always say that even if your life is, not as healthy as it should be, in terms of going out and drinking and eating pizza. I did that in my 20s and 30s. In fact, I always say to my clients that are in their 30s and 40s are actually physically more appealing, like they look better because their lifestyle's changed.
Right.
You go through phases in your life in your 20s, as I did. I'm much more physically attractive, my body, in my 40s now than I was in my 20s because I was a 20-year-old. I went out, I had my drinks, I went to pizza at 2:00. I lived the way I wanted to, but what I never stopped doing was go to the gym. I always invested my time in my gym, the time in the gym. And so even if you're not doing exactly what you should lifestyle wise, because those lifestyle challenges are the ones that are going to be the hardest ones to tackle and obtain. But if you can get to the gym and get your lifts in and actually take care of yourself, even during those times where you're maybe not making the best choices, and that's called life, you will be so much more thankful in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s that you did.